here to join with my Palestinian friends and colleagues to say that Hamas's slaughter of Israeli civilians on October 7th was a heinous crime, and that Israel's vengeful bombardment and assault on the civilian population of the Gaza Strip is a heinous crime. We are among the several dozen Portland area Palestinians and Jews who released a statement last week calling for a ceasefire, the establishment of a humanitarian corridor, and the release of the 239 Israeli hostages. All of the academic qualifications that Hala introduced me with so generously are what I've done with much of my life as an adult, but none of that is really why I'm here today. I'm here because my niece Liat and her husband Aviv were taken hostage on October 7th and are presumed to be held in the Gaza Strip. How did that come about? My mother and father and brother and sister moved to Israel in 1973. My wife Miriam and I had left Israel earlier that year because we opposed the occupation of the Palestinian territories, the West Bank, East Jerusalem, and the Gaza Strip, and I didn't want to serve in the Israeli army. I was not successful in convincing my family that moving to Israel was not a good idea. My parents died and are buried in Israel. My brother and sister continue to live there. Liat is my brother's older daughter, and she is 50 years old. His younger daughter, Tal, left Israel in 2014 and lives here in Portland. Liat and Aviv have lived on kibbutz near Oz, very close to the border of the Gaza Strip, for about 25 years. Liat is a high school teacher and a guide at the Yad Vashem World Holocaust Remembrance Center in Jerusalem. Aviv manages the garage of the kibbutz, which also serves as a regional center for the maintenance and repair of heavy equipment, and he is also a metalwork artist. They have 3 grown children, Ofri, 22, Neta, 20, and Aya, 18. Nir Oz was one of the kibbutzim most heavily hit by Hamas on October 7th. A quarter of the roughly 385 residents were killed, taken hostage, or are missing. Israel was established in 1948 on the ruins of Palestinian society. 750,000 Palestinians were expelled or fled in fear from their homes and lands. In 1967, Israel occupied the West Bank, East Jerusalem, and the Gaza Strip, as well as the Egyptian Sinai Peninsula and Syrian Golan Heights. Even before the 1967 war was over, influential currents in Israeli society sought to annex all or part of those territories. Since 2007, Israel has imposed a harsh siege on the Gaza Strip, illegally inflicting collective punishment on its 2.2 million inhabitants, about 70% of whom are refugees from the 1948 war. The siege is so severe that Israel actually counts the calories it allows into Gaza to ensure that people do not starve but are unable to flourish. The economy is crippled. About 50% of the population are unemployed. 70% are food insecure and rely on international assistance. The United Nations Conference on Trade and Development predicted that Gaza would become uninhabitable by 2020. None of this justifies the horrific massacre of civilians that Hamas carried out on October 7th. That was a war crime, and it is utterly unacceptable by all moral standards. Hamas's actions, although undertaken in the name of resisting occupation, will not lead to the liberation of anyone. Hamas's actions on October 7th do not justify Israel's massive bombardment and ground assaults, which have led to over 8,000 deaths, 19,000 wounded, and at least 3,340 dead children. Over 40% of all the dead in the Gaza Strip since October 7th are children. The mass murder of Palestinian civilians in the Gaza Strip is an illegal act of collective punishment and a war crime. It will not make Israeli Jews safer. I do not want one more Palestinian civilian to die in revenge for my family's pain. It must stop. Thank you.